The hour of
colony
reckoning
of
is here.
New Helsinki
We stand
was
at the precipice,
beautiful in
and
the morning
failure
light.
is not an option.
Twin suns rose over green hills where children played and farmers worked their fields. 2 million people lived there, building homes and raising families on a world far from Earth. They had come to this distant planet looking for a better life. They found death instead. The Velthari warships appeared without warning. One moment the sky was clear and blue. The next moment it burned with fire. The alien vessels numbered in the thousands, their dark shapes blocking out the suns. They did not send a message. They did not make demands. They simply began killing. Captain Yuki Tanaka was drinking coffee in the small military station when the alarm screamed. She ran to the window and saw streaks of light falling from the sky. Each streak was a plasma bomb. Each bomb erased a city block from existence. She grabbed her communicator and tried to reach Earth, but the Velthari were jamming all signals. "Get everyone to the shelters," she screamed at her soldiers. But there were not enough shelters. There had never been enough shelters. New Helsinki was a farming colony, not a military base. They had 12 small defense ships against thousands of Velthari warships. The 12 ships launched anyway. Captain Tanaka watched them rise into the burning sky. She watched them explode one by one, like fireflies crushed by a giant hand. The battle lasted 4 minutes. Then, there was no more human fleet. The bombing continued for 6 hours. The Velthari were thorough. They destroyed the cities first, then the towns, then the farms. They hunted down people hiding in forests and caves. They showed no mercy, because mercy was not in their nature. The Velthari believed in strength and conquest. Humans were weak. Weak things deserved to die. When the last plasma bomb fell, 2.3 million humans were dead. Captain Tanaka survived only because she had crawled into a drainage pipe. She lay in the darkness, listening to the screams fade into silence. When she finally crawled out, she found a world of ash and bone. The news reached Earth 3 days later. The United Planetary Council gathered in emergency session. Leaders from every nation sat in stunned silence as the reports came in. Images of burning cities played on screens. Lists of the dead scrolled endlessly. Children, parents, grandparents, entire families erased. "This is an act of war," said President Chen Wei, his voice shaking with rage. "We must respond." "With what?" asked Admiral James Morrison. "Our fleet is small. The Velthari have 10,000 warships. We would be sending our soldiers to die." The debate raged for hours. Some demanded immediate attack. A few suggested surrender, though they were shouted down quickly. In the end, they decided to appeal to the Galactic Concord, the alliance of over 400 alien species that governed most of the galaxy. Ambassador Yua Chen traveled to the Axis stations, the great meeting place where all species gathered. She stood before the Concord Assembly and showed them the evidence. She displayed the images of dead children and burning homes. She read the names of the victims until her voice grew hoarse. The aliens listened politely. Then they delivered their judgment. "The Velthari action was regrettable," said High Arbiter Kethalon, a tall creature with silver skin and cold eyes. "However, it falls within accepted protocols for territorial disputes. The humans had expanded into contested space. The Velthari responded according to their cultural traditions. We find no violation of Concord law." Ambassador Chen stared at him. "Children are dead, and you call it a territorial dispute?" "Humans are new to the galaxy," the Arbiter replied. "You do not yet understand how things work. The strong take from the weak. This is the natural order. Perhaps this lesson, though painful, will help your species mature." The assembly voted. 400 species agreed that the massacre was acceptable. Humanity's complaint was dismissed. Ambassador Chen returned to Earth with nothing but empty words and broken promises. Fleet Admiral Kenji Okonkwo had been born on New Helsinki. His parents still lived there when the bombs fell. He sat in the council chamber, listening to the ambassador's report, and felt something cold settle in his heart. It was not grief. Grief would come later. This was something harder, something sharper. When the shouting and arguing finally stopped, Admiral Okonkwo stood up. The room fell silent. Everyone knew he had lost everything in the attack. "I am not asking for revenge," he said quietly. "Revenge is for the emotional. I am asking for time. Give us 18 months. Not to build a bigger fleet. Not to find allies who do not exist. Give us 18 months to finish what our scientists started 30 years ago." President Chen Wei frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Project Prometheus," the admiral replied. "Deep beneath the Atacama Desert, our best physicists have been working on something. A theoretical weapons program. Everyone thought it was impossible. Everyone thought it was a waste of money. But 6 months ago, they had a breakthrough." "What kind of breakthrough?" someone asked. Admiral Okonkwo looked around the room. His eyes were empty of everything except cold determination. "The kind that changes everything. Give us 18 months. Then we will never be weak again." The council voted. They gave him 18 months. They had no other choice. There was nothing else to do except wait and hope. Far beneath the Atacama Desert, in a facility that did not officially exist, Dr. Amara Osei received the news. She gathered her team of 200 scientists and engineers. They had been working on Prometheus for 3 decades, chasing a theory that most physicists called insane. They had found something in the quantum foam, in the spaces between spaces, in the fabric of reality itself. "We have 18 months, Dr. Osei told her team, 18 months to turn theory into reality. 18 months to build something that will make the galaxy tremble. I know you are tired. I know you have families. I know this work has consumed your lives. But 2 million of our people are dead. The galaxy thinks we are weak. The galaxy thinks we are nothing. We are going to prove them wrong." No one argued. No one complained. They simply went back to work. Above them, the world continued turning. People mourned their dead and feared their future. The Velthari laughed at humanity's weakness. The galactic concord forgot about the small species on the edge of known space. They would remember, soon enough. Earth went silent. Every human ship returned home. Every colony pulled back its communication signals. Every embassy closed its doors. The species that had been so eager to join the galactic community simply disappeared behind the borders of their small solar system. The galaxy noticed. Then the galaxy laughed. In the great halls of the Axis stations, Velthari Commander Teth Vorin stood before thousands of alien diplomats and mocked the missing humans. "They have crawled back to their little planet to die," he declared, his forearms spread wide in triumph. "This is what happens to species that forget their place. The strong survive. The weak hide and weep." The assembly applauded. Most species agreed with the Velthari philosophy. Strength was everything in the galaxy. Weakness was a disease to be destroyed. Humans had proven themselves weak. They deserved their fate. But some species did not laugh. The Kefmari, an ancient race with long memories, watched the empty human seats with worried eyes. "A wounded predator does not always flee," their ambassador whispered to his aide. "Sometimes it goes quiet while it prepares to strike." "Humans are not predators," the aide replied. "They are prey." "Are they?" the ambassador asked. "They evolved on a death world. Their planet has earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, and ice ages. They survived all of it. They killed every predator that threatened them. They even killed each other by the millions and kept going. Perhaps we should not assume we know what they are." No one listened to the old Kethmari. No one ever listened to the old races anymore. On Earth, the silence was not weakness. It was focus. Every resource the planet had went into Project Prometheus. Factories that once made cars now made specialized equipment. Universities emptied as students joined research teams. The best minds from every nation gathered in facilities hidden from alien eyes. Humanity had one goal, one purpose, one dream. Never again. Dr. Amara Osei slept only 4 hours each night. She lived in the underground facility, eating cold meals and drinking endless cups of coffee. Her team worked around the clock, testing theories that had once seemed impossible. The breakthrough had come from an unexpected place. A young physicist named David Kim had been studying quantum entanglement when he found something strange. Particles that should have been separate were connected across vast distances. Not just connected, they were the same particle, existing in multiple places at once. What if space itself is an illusion? David had asked. What if every point in the universe is actually the same point, just seen from different angles? The older scientists had laughed at first. Then they had run the math. The numbers worked. Distance was a lie. Separation was a trick of perception. Everything was connected to everything else through the quantum foam. If you knew how to reach through that foam, you could touch anything, anywhere, instantly. Dr. Osei had spent 20 years developing the technology to reach through. Now she had to turn that technology into a weapon. A weapon so terrible that no one would ever dare attack humanity again. "We are building a gun that can shoot through walls," she explained to Admiral Okonkwo during his monthly visit. "Except the walls are the walls of reality itself, and the bullet is destabilization." "What does that mean in simple terms?" the Admiral asked. "It means we can make stars explode, any star, from any distance, in seconds." The Admiral stood very still for a long moment. "How many people could we kill with this? If we target a star with inhabited planets, billions, tens of billions. Everyone in that system would die." Dr. Osei's voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. "Admiral, I need you to understand something. This is not a weapon of war. This is a weapon of extinction. Once we use it, we cannot take it back. We will become the thing the galaxy fears most." "Good," the Admiral said quietly. "Let them fear us. Let them fear us so much that they never dare touch us again." The months passed. Progress was slow, then fast, then slow again. There were failures and setbacks. Equipment exploded. 3 scientists died when a test chamber collapsed. But the work continued. It always continued. Meanwhile, the Galactic Concord grew curious about Earth's silence. They sent probe ships to investigate. 17 vessels entered the Sol system, armed with the best sensors and stealth technology the galaxy could provide. None of them returned. The probes simply vanished. No distress signals, no debris. They crossed into human space and ceased to exist. Panic spread through the Concord's intelligence services. What had humans built? What were they hiding? Some analysts believed humanity had developed new weapons. Others thought they had built a massive defense system. A few suggested that humans had destroyed themselves in civil war or mass suicide. No one guessed the truth. No one could have guessed the truth. Ambassador Yue Chen spent those 18 months in constant briefings. Every day she learned more about Prometheus. Every day her face grew more serious. She had spent her career building bridges between species, finding common ground, creating peace through understanding. Now she was being asked to deliver a threat so absolute that it would change the galaxy forever. "I need to understand exactly what we are doing," she told Dr. Osei during one of their meetings. "When I stand before the Concord, I need to believe every word I say." "We have learned to reach through the fabric of space," Dr. Osei explained. "We can touch the core of any star and destabilize it. The star does not explode. It simply stops existing. The fusion reaction ends. The light goes out. Everything orbiting that star freezes in the darkness. From any distance? Any distance. We tested it last month on a star 40,000 light-years away, an uninhabited system. The star died the moment we activated the device. There is no defense against this. No shield, no warning, just darkness." Ambassador Chen closed her eyes. "God help us all." "God is not here," Dr. Osei replied. "Only us. Only what we have built. Only what we must do." On the final day of the 18th month, Dr. Osei delivered her report to the United Planetary Council. She stood before the leaders of Earth and explained in simple terms what humanity had created. "We can now unmake stars," she said. "Any star, from any distance, instantaneously. We are ready." Admiral Okonkwo nodded slowly. He thought of his parents, buried under the ashes of New Helsinki. He thought of 2.3 million people who had done nothing wrong except exist in the wrong place at the wrong time. He thought of the Concord Assembly dismissing their deaths as a minor inconvenience. "Send the ambassador," he said. "It is time the galaxy learned what humanity has become." The next day, a single human ship left the Sol system. It was small and unarmed. It carried only Ambassador Chen and a message. The galaxy was about to change forever. The Axis stations hung in space like jewels on a black velvet cloth. Thousands of ships from hundreds of species filled the surrounding void. It was the heart of galactic civilization, the place where empires made deals and alliances formed and broke. No war had ever touched this sacred space. Ambassador Yua Chen's small ship approached slowly. She had sent her request ahead. A full assembly session. All 400 species. Mandatory attendance. The Concord administrators had laughed at first. Who did this human think she was? But something in her message had made them pause. Something cold and certain. They granted her request. The assembly hall was enormous, built to hold representatives from every known species. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, their bodies ranging from small insect-like creatures to massive beings that barely fit through the doors. Colors and shapes and sizes beyond human imagination. All of them watching as the lone human ambassador walked to the central platform. Commander Tetsvoron sat in the Velthari section, his forearms crossed over his chest. He had come personally to watch humanity's final humiliation. He expected begging. He expected tears. He expected the small species to offer tribute or surrender or some other pathetic gesture of weakness. Ambassador Chen reached the platform and stood in silence. She looked small against the vast hall, fragile, alone. The aliens whispered among themselves. Some laughed quietly. Then she began to speak. 18 months ago, your forces attacked our colony of New Helsinki, she said. Her voice was calm, steady, without emotion. 2.3 million of our people were killed. Children were killed. Families were burned alive in their homes. When we came to this assembly seeking justice, you told us that our deaths were acceptable. You told us that the strong take from the weak. You told us this was the natural order of things. She paused. The hall was silent now. We heard you. We understood you. And we have prepared our response. Then respond, Commander Tethvorin called out mockingly. Tell us how many ships you have built. Tell us which allies have agreed to die beside you. We are curious to see what the weak have assembled. Ambassador Chen turned to face him. Her eyes were empty of fear, empty of anger, empty of everything except cold certainty. I will tell you exactly what we have, she said. But first, I will do something else. I will read the names of our dead. That is not neck, the High Arbiter began. I will read the names of our dead, Ambassador Chen repeated, her voice cutting through his objection. All of them, every child, every parent, every person your forces murdered. This assembly will hear their names. This is not a request. And so she read. For 6 hours, she read names. Human names from every culture and country on Earth. Names that meant hope and love and dreams that would never come true. The aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some tried to leave. The doors would not open. Human ships had surrounded the station. No one was going anywhere until the ambassador finished. When the last name was spoken, Ambassador Chen fell silent. She let the weight of 2.3 million dead hang in the air like a funeral shroud. Now, she said finally, I will deliver humanity's response. She touched a control on her platform. A holographic display appeared, showing the galaxy in brilliant detail. The Velthari Dominion has 30 standard days to surrender all military assets and submit to human oversight. Every warship, every weapon, every soldier, you will disarm completely and permanently. Failure to comply will result in your extinction. The hall erupted. Laughter, shouting, outrage. Commander Tethforon's voice rose above the chaos. You threaten us? You threaten the mightiest empire in the galaxy? With what? Your 12 ships? Your small fleet that we destroyed in 4 minutes? Ambassador Chen waited for the noise to fade. Then she smiled. It was not a warm smile. Look to the Cathari system, she said simply. The High Arbiter frowned. The Cathari system? That is an uninhabited binary star system. What does it have to do with? He stopped. Every alien in the hall stopped. The holographic display had updated, showing real-time data from across the galaxy. And in the Cathari system, something impossible was happening. Both stars were going dark. Not exploding, not collapsing, simply ceasing to exist. The fusion fires that had burned for billions of years were going out like candles in the wind. The light that had shone across 12,000 light-years was fading to nothing. That is impossible, someone whispered. Stars do not just stop. They do now, Ambassador Chen replied. We made them stop. From here, instantly. Across 12,000 light-years, we reached out and ended those stars. And we can do it again, to any star, including yours. The silence that followed was absolute. 400 species sat frozen in their seats, staring at the darkness where the Cathari stars had once burned. Earth extends this ultimatum to every civilization in the galaxy, Ambassador Chen continued. Her voice echoed through the hall like a death sentence. Attack humanity again. Any colony, any vessel, any citizen, and your home star follows the Cathari. We did not want this power. We did not seek it. But we will use it. Consider this your only warning. Commander Tethvoron rose from his seat. His 4 hands were shaking. You would not. You could not. The death of a star would kill billions. You are not capable of such. Choose wisely. Then she was gone. In the silence she left behind, 400 species began to understand that the galaxy had changed forever. The natural order they had believed in for 10,000 years, the strong take from the weak, had been turned on its head. Because now, the weakest species in the galaxy had become the strongest. And they were very, very angry. The countdown had begun. The galaxy had 30 days to make a choice. For most species, the choice was simple. Stay away from humanity and pray that the humans never turned their terrible weapon in their direction. But for the Velthari, the choice was much harder. Surrender meant the end of everything they believed. For 10,000 years, the Velthari had built their civilization on one principle. The strong rule, the weak serve. Their warriors were taught from birth that power was the only truth. Their leaders had conquered 100 worlds through blood and fire. To surrender now, to bow before a species they had called weak and worthless, was unthinkable. Commander Tethvoron returned to the Velthari homeworld of Teth Prime with fire in his eyes. He gathered the High Council in their ancient war chamber and spoke to them of honor and pride and the glory of combat. The humans are bluffing, he declared. They destroyed 2 uninhabited stars. So what? Destroying an empty system is easy. Destroying a system filled with 40 billion Velthari is another matter entirely. They do not have the courage. They do not have the will. They are soft creatures from a soft world, and they will break when they face true resistance. Some council members were not convinced. What if you are wrong? Asked Elder Tethvoron, the commander's own uncle. What if they truly can do what they claim? We would be gambling the lives of every Velthari alive. Then we die with honor, the commander shouted. We die as warriors, not as slaves. Our ancestors did not build this empire by cowering before threats. They built it by crushing anyone who dared oppose them. We will crush the humans as we have crushed every other species that stood in our way. The debate lasted for 3 days. In the end, the hardliners won. Pride was stronger than fear. Honor was stronger than caution. They would fight. On the 10th day of the countdown, the Veldthari began assembling the largest fleet in galactic history. 600,000 warships gather in orbit around Teth Prime. Battle cruisers the size of mountains. Destroyers armed with weapons that could crack planets. Fighter carriers holding millions of smaller attack craft. It was a force capable of conquering the entire galaxy. Earth watched through hidden sensors as the fleet grew larger and larger. In the command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Okonkwo studied the reports with cold eyes. "They are calling our bluff," he said quietly. "It is not a bluff," Dr. Osei replied. She stood beside him, her face pale and tired. "The weapon is ready. We can destroy their star whenever you give the order." "I know." The Admiral turned to look at her. "I keep hoping they will surrender. I keep hoping we will not have to use it." "You knew from the beginning that we would have to use it. The galaxy only respects strength. We have to prove our strength, or the ultimatum means nothing. 40 billion lives, Amara. That is not strength. That is slaughter. They killed 2.3 million of us without hesitation. They laughed about it. They celebrated. If we show mercy now, they will see it as weakness. And then they will come for us. Not just the Veldthari. Every species that dreams of conquest. Every empire that wants to prove that humanity can be defeated. We have to be monsters, Kenji. We have to be the biggest monsters in the galaxy. It is the only way to keep our people safe." The Admiral said nothing. There was nothing to say. On the 28th day, the Veldthari Armada launched. 600,000 ships began the journey toward Earth, broadcasting their defiance on every frequency the galaxy could hear. "Humanity has threatened the Veldthari Dominion with extinction," Commander Tethvorin announced to the watching galaxy. "We do not hide from threats. We do not beg for mercy. We meet our enemies face to face and destroy them. When our fleet reaches Sol, we will burn Earth to ash and scatter the remains across the void. Let this be a lesson to all who would challenge Veldthari might." The message spread across 10,000 light-years. Some species cheered for the Veldthari, hoping they would free the galaxy from humanity's threat. Others watched in horror, knowing what was about to happen. A few ancient races began evacuating their homeworlds, just in case the humans decided to punish everyone who had ever supported the Veldthari. On the 29th day, Earth broadcast its response. It was not a speech. It was not a threat. It was simply a set of coordinates. The exact location of Teth Prime, the Veldthari homeworld with its 40 billion inhabitants. "We warned you," Ambassador Chen's voice accompanied the broadcast. "We gave you every chance. You chose this. Remember that." On the 30th day, the Veldthari fleet entered sensor range of the Sol system. 600,000 warships, the largest invasion force ever assembled, ready to destroy Earth and everyone on it. 1 hour into the 30th day, Admiral Okonkwo sat in his command chair and stared at the screen showing the approaching fleet. His hand rested on a single button. One press, and 40 billion lives would end. "They are still coming," his aide reported. "No change in course, no communication." "They think we will not do it," the Admiral said. "They think we are like them, that we will choose our honor over their lives." He laughed bitterly. "They are wrong. We will choose our survival over anything." He pressed the button. 12,000 light-years away, the star of the Teth system ceased to exist. There was no explosion, no warning. One moment, the star burned bright and hot as it had for 5 billion years. The next moment, it was gone. The light simply stopped. The heat simply ended. The fusion reaction that had powered an entire solar system switched off like someone had flipped a switch. On Teth Prime, 40 billion Velthari looked up at their sky and saw darkness where their sun had been. For a moment, no one understood what had happened. Then the cold began to creep in. The temperature started falling, and understanding arrived like a hammer blow to the soul. They were all going to die. The Velthari fleet received the news in real time. Every ship had sensors pointed at home, watching for any sign of trouble. They saw their star die. They saw their world begin to freeze. They heard the screaming as their families and friends realized what was happening. Commander Tethvoron stood on his command bridge, watching the feeds from Teth Prime. He saw cities going dark as power failed. He saw people running through streets that grew colder by the minute. He saw children crying for parents who could not save them. "What have we done?" he whispered. Earth broadcast one final message to the frozen fleet. "Return home and bury your dead, or join them. Choose now." For a long moment, nothing happened. 600,000 warships hung in space, their crews paralyzed by grief and horror and rage. Then, one by one, the ships began to turn around. Not one fired a shot. Not one continued toward Earth. The greatest invasion fleet in galactic history turned its back on its target and flew home to mourn. Admiral Okonkwo watched them go. He should have felt triumph. He should have felt relief. Instead, he felt empty. He had just killed 40 billion living beings. Men, women, children. People with hopes and dreams and futures that would never happen. "It is done," he said quietly. "God forgive us. It is done." No one in the command center could meet his eyes. No one could find words to speak. They had won. They had saved humanity. And they would carry the weight of 40 billion souls for the rest of their lives. 1 year had passed since the death of Teth Prime. The galaxy was a different place now. The Velthari Dominion no longer existed. Their mighty empire had crumbled in the cold darkness that followed the death of their son. Survivors had scattered across the galaxy, refugees without a home, begging for shelter from species they had once conquered. Some were welcomed. Most were not. The galaxy had long memories, and the Velthari had made many enemies during their years of conquest. The galactic concord had dissolved in the chaos. 400 species had watched humanity kill 40 billion beings without hesitation, and they understood that the old rules no longer applied. The strong could no longer take from the weak, because the weak now had the power to destroy everything. In its place, a new organization formed, the Terran Accords. It was not an empire. Humanity did not want to rule the galaxy. They simply wanted peace, and they had the power to enforce it. Ambassador Yue Chen stood before the new assembly, addressing representatives from 300 species. Some had joined willingly, grateful for protection. Others had joined out of fear. It did not matter to humanity why they joined, only that they followed the rules. "The Terran Accords are simple," Ambassador Chen announced. Her voice carried across the Great Hall, translated into 1,000 languages. "Harm no sentient being without just cause. Wage no war of aggression. Respect the borders and sovereignty of all member species. Break these laws and face the consequences." "And what are the consequences?" asked a delegate from the Kethmari, the ancient race that had warned others about humanity's silence. "You have seen the consequences," Ambassador Chen replied. "Teth Prime, 40 billion dead. We do not wish to use our weapon again. We built it because we had no choice. We used it because we had no choice. But the choice now belongs to you. Follow the Accords, and we will never threaten you. Break them, and you will share the fate of the Velthari." No one argued. No one protested. The rules were accepted without debate. Peace spread across the galaxy like a healing wave. Wars that had burned for centuries suddenly stopped. Species that had fought each other for generations laid down their weapons. Trade routes that had been closed by conflict opened again. For the first time in recorded history, There was no war anywhere among the stars. But peace came with a price, and no one paid that price more heavily than the humans who had bought it with blood. Admiral Kenji Okonkwo resigned from the military 6 months after the death of Teth Prime. He refused every honor, every medal, every title that grateful governments tried to give him. He moved to a small house on the coast of Japan and spent his days staring at the ocean. Ambassador Chen visited him there, 1 year after the ultimatum. She found him sitting on the beach, watching the waves roll in. "You should come back to work," she said, sitting beside him. "The Accords need people like you, people who understand the weight of what we have done." "That is exactly why I cannot come back," the Admiral replied. "I gave the order. I pressed the button. 40 billion people died because of me. How can I lead anyone after that? You saved 8 billion on Earth. You saved trillions more across the galaxy who will never be attacked because their enemies now know the cost. The math is clear, Kenji. You saved more than you killed." "Math?" The Admiral laughed bitterly. "Is that how we measure souls now? By mathematics?" "It is how we must measure them. Because if we do not, we will drown in guilt. And then, who will protect the next generation? Who will make sure this never happens again?" Admiral Okonkwo did not answer. He never fully answered that question. He never fully slept again either. Some prices cannot be measured in math. Deep beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Amara Osei worked alone in the Prometheus facility. The rest of her team had been sent home with honors and generous pensions. The equipment had been dismantled, the records destroyed. Officially, the weapon no longer existed. Unofficially, Dr. Osei kept one thing, a small device that could reactivate the system. A single activation key, hidden where only she would ever find it. "Why keep it?" her assistant had asked before leaving. "The war is over. We won. Why not destroy everything?" "Because the galaxy has not changed," Dr. Osei had replied. "Only our place in it. Someday, another species may decide that humanity is weak. Someday, another empire may think they can destroy us without consequence. When that day comes, we need to be ready." She locked the activation key in a vault beneath the vault, behind doors that could only be opened by her genetic code. Then she left the facility and tried to live a normal life. She never quite succeeded. None of them did. On a human colony world called New Beginning, a young Velthari child walked through a refugee camp. Her name was Kethala, and she was 7 years old. She had been born on a transport ship fleeing Teth Prime, hours before the star died. Her parents had frozen to death in the chaos that followed. She had been raised by strangers ever since. The humans had built this camp. They had provided food, shelter, medicine. Some Velthari refused their help out of pride. Kethala was too young for pride. She was just hungry. She sat alone at the edge of the camp, watching human children play in a nearby field. They laughed and ran and threw balls to each other. They looked so happy, so free. Kethala could not remember ever feeling happy or free. A human girl noticed her watching. She was about Kethala's age, with brown skin and dark curly hair. She walked over to the Velthari child and held out something wrapped in cloth. "Are you hungry?" the human girl asked. "My mom made too much lunch. You can have some if you want." Kethala stared at her. The humans had killed her people. The humans had destroyed her homeworld. She should hate this girl. She should refuse her food and spit in her face. But she was so hungry, and the human girl was smiling so kindly, and hate was so very heavy to carry. Kethala reached out and took the food. It was some kind of sandwich, with bread and vegetables and something sweet inside. She bit into it and tasted the first good thing she had eaten in months. "My name is Maya," the human girl said. "What is your name?" "Kethala," the Velthari child replied quietly. "That is a pretty name. Do you want to come play with us? We are going to build a fort." Kethala hesitated. Behind her, Older Velthari refugees watched with suspicious eyes. They did not trust the humans. They would never trust the humans. The wound was too fresh, the pain too deep. But Kethala was 7 years old. She did not care about wars, or empires, or the death of stars. She just wanted to play. She just wanted to be a child. "Okay," she said softly, "I will come." Maya took her hand, her four-fingered Velthari hand, and led her toward the other children. They did not stare. They did not ask questions. They just made room for her in their game. And somewhere, watching from a government building across the colony, Ambassador Chen saw the two children playing together. She thought about all the death and pain that had brought them to this moment. She thought about the 40 billion who had died so that these children could live in peace. She hoped it was worth it. She prayed it was worth it. She would spend the rest of her life trying to make sure it was worth it. The galaxy had received Earth's ultimatum: attack again and be obliterated. And for the first time in 10,000 years of recorded history, there was no war anywhere among the stars. Only the slow, fragile, uncertain beginning of something that might someday become peace.